I did catch that F-bomb you almost dropped in Ghostbusters that they ever so seamlessly ADR'd over you. It's like he
Oh,
did not say that. Oh no.
oh
Uh,
dear. Yep. And I think you're only allowed so many in a PG-13, and you got
yeah.
to save that for the big guns.
No, right, exactly. Bill Murray wants to drop an F-bomb. You let Bill Murray drop the
Oh
F-bomb.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He gets the Glengarry leads, my friend.
Gary Leeds, I love it. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. I am joined today by Jordan Blum and Patton Oswalt, the creative minds behind the Minor Threats universe and so much more. Yes, of course you know them from Minor Threats, the Dark Horse independent superhero universe series that has kind of three different books under its label now: Minor Threats, The Alternates, and Minor Threats 2, coming out April 3rd. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Good
Thanks
to
for
be here.
having us, man.
We just announced yesterday a fourth book,
Yes.
Fly, that will be written by Kyle Starks and drawn by Ryan Brown, and is a direct spin-off of the Minor Threats series, based on a character who never speaks and is only in the background,
Yes,
named Shit Eater, and the series will be called Barfly.
Yeah.
love it.
He's
Probably smart.
literally in. It's literally a series based on a character who is in one panel of the original book, and it sparked Kyle's imagination, as Kyle's imagination will do, and he built a genuinely hilarious and tragic world around this character. I'm blown. I already loved Kyle. Now I'm blown away by him.
Yeah, it's a coming of age henchman story. What
Oh,
happens to a henchman when his villainous master is gone, when you have no one left to hench for? What do you do with your life? And we should also give credit. Scott Hepburn designed this character. This is Scott's baby, and the design is what kind of
Yeah.
caught fire. Yeah.
We didn't even write this character. This was something that he added to the background. And even before, by the way, even before Kyle jumped on it, Jordan and I were so obsessed with him. Like what, but we couldn't figure out what to do. And then, of course, Kyle just brought us this whole other, again, I love it so much.
yeah. You guys are kind of you're channeling the old Star Wars expanded universe where it's like, oh, that one guy in the background, he's a
Yeah.
Devorian, and he comes from a planet full of characters that look like that. This is this is
Well,
Shit
hey,
Eater. He's super
I went
important.
that
on, I remember I went on Wikipedia one day because somebody, I don't know if it's official or not, but like the backstories of just all the denizens in the cantina
Completely.
were insane. The
Yes.
level of detail, each its almost own complete movie and story arc. Oh my God,
Yeah.
yeah.
Every story's been told. There's nothing original. You just boom, every single character. You could do a whole Disney Plus spin-off of them.
beautiful.
Well, that was the Star Wars I grew up with because I was there for the tail end of Return of the Jedi, saw that, rented the movies every week. But for a long stretch of the 90s, all you had was Tales from Jabba's Palace, Tales from the Cantina, and you ate it up. You're like, yes, I need to know the backstory of the Rancor trainer and all, like
Well, that
it was
character in
amazing.
particular, he begged that story to be told.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's a
beautiful.
trunk-faced character that Luke maybe bumps into that they did put into the Tales from Jabba's Palace, where they're like, oh, that character is actually a secret rebel spy, and Luke is implanting information into him as he's talking to Han Solo. Absolutely not. But the Rancor trainer, no, that guy has a story. He has
Yes,
Well, what
emotion.
yes.
He has
what I
pathos.
loved, yeah, what I loved about all the Cantina denizens were they really ran with the idea that they are their own central monster in a 50s like science fiction film,
Yeah.
and this is where they go to take a break in between being in those movies. But then there's also some of the characters are literally just like, I think the that guy with that weird trunk, with the two eyes, is just a local farmer getting drunk.
Yeah.
Like he just not he's so prosaic that even the other monsters in there are looking at him like, look at this fucking redneck. Like there's the fact that aliens have pecking order and status
There's a
that
hierarchy.
I love
likes me
that.
to no end.
You know what the
Yeah.
most extreme version of this was, though? So you know how Luke picks up the skull, right?
Yes.
And
Whose
throw
skull was that?
there's a Dark Horse comic, I believe, that tells the
Oh,
story of the guy whose
Thank God.
skull Luke will pick up to throw to try and stop the door. Or no, he throws hit the button on the
oh,
door for
To
it to come
drop the
out.
door. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we
oh.
God.
need to know how that skull got there in Return of the
Well,
Jedi.
Absolutely.
Didn't Jerry Duggan and Phil Noto do a whole thing about why Chewbacca didn't get a medal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
there's literally a whole book about that, and it's beautiful.
Yes.
Did you ever read the story? Sorry, this is my last Star Wars. Aside. Pat, did you ever read the story where the Millennium Falcon crashes on Earth, and then years later, Indiana Jones finds it and finds the skeleton of Han Solo, and
Oh,
also
they
what we
land in the
think of,
Pacific Northwest.
yes. So what we think of, by the way, of Bigfoot, those are just
It's just Chewie.
it's Chewy. Yeah.
It's just Chewie
Oh,
tragically trudging through the Pacific Northwest looking for his lost life debt master. Uh,
It's when
oh my,
Lucasfilm ate itself, is what
yeah,
that's
that
is.
was the Ouroboros of Star Wars,
wow,
really.
Yeah.
oh God in heaven.
And it's equally tragic. But you guys have created a universe not unlike the Star Wars expanded universe, where it starts out really cool story, but of course, Minor Threats has just a deep well of characters that I'm sure the brainstorming session of like, okay, so this is our core characters, but look at everything else we can make. But then you ratchet that up to 11 when you get to Minor Threats 2, where it's just so much more lore and characters. How much fun is it to generate that kind of universe and then expand on it? Get the opportunity to go, yeah, maybe we only get one shot at this, because not to say that your names don't carry cachet,
Mhm.
but the comic book industry is fickle and
Yeah.
and insular, so it's tough to like build out a new universe like this.
I mean, I think anything that you write, always write as if, don't write with the idea that, oh, this is going to be a massive franchise. Just make each incident itself memorable. And then if something happened, I mean, one of the reasons that Star Wars landed so hard was because he didn't think there was going to be a whole massive series. It was going to be this one movie. Let's make it all count. Same with the first Matrix movie. And it's unlike um, Star Wars, it was clear that there was no sequel to the Matrix, and because none of the sequels really worked, because it was such a perfectly complete story.
Agreed.
Whereas at least Lucas was smart enough to go, I don't know where this goes. Does someone else know? And then other people ran with it and did amazing things with it.
Right. But I'm not going to kill Darth Vader in the third act. I'll tell you that right now. That's one
Yes,
thing I'm smart enough
exactly.
not to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that
have
was
to,
also his nod to the old Flash Gordon serials, which is, oh, you don't actually kill the bet, make sure that guy comes back.
Sure, exactly. But knowing, having that business sense of like he's going to come back
Yeah,
because he's just
exactly.
so cool and rich and marketable. But
Mm.
but with the Minor Threats universe, you guys have been building out this world. At what point did you guys get to, oh, we're doing Minor Threats too? And I don't want to discount the alternates. That's a completely separate animal at this point, because it's become this its own. You call it a spinoff, but it is its own book universe series that is part of this rich tapestry you guys have built together.
yeah, well, I think I guess we were finding out it was doing well, and then we pushed the alternates, and then they asked us if we wanted to do another one, and it got greenlit. And I think we had a little bit of a story, I think, in our back pocket, but like, yeah, like you were saying, we wrote where you leave it all on the field, you write yourself into a corner, and then you go, okay, now we end on this big cliffhanger, this heel turn for Frankie. What does that look like next? And I think it was us being obsessed with the worlds of supervillains and the hierarchies, and okay, so this is going to be a story, a trajectory of this character who goes from barely wanting to be a part of it to kind of uniting it and
Yeah.
becoming this queen pin. What does that look like? And also, you know we wanted it to have a different feeling genre wise to the first one. We're doing crime genre stories. And if the first book was a little more like the Warriors, or, kind of survive the night, caper, we got to get from here to there, kind of thing. That was really fun. We also wanted to write these underdogs, these kind of Fargo like criminals. We're a little bumbling, kind of at the bottom of the pecking order. What does it look like when you ascend, when you rise the ranks? So we're like, well, what are those movies? Godfather 2, these rise and falls, the Goodfellas, these more kind of sprawling epics, so that it didn't feel like we were just going back and doing like, what's Frankie going to get into this week? What's the job of this week? As opposed to, okay, she's elevated. What does that look like? What are the new pressures? Who's coming for the crown? All that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. We live in a post boys world where it looks cynically at the superheroes. And I think you guys have intelligently honed in on let's not do a kind of like, what if superheroes were scumbags? Let's just go to the scumbags, the bad guys,
Yeah.
and get at the heart of who they are. Was that a conscious decision? Because I've noticed that with respect to minor threats, and I've had the fortunate pleasure of being able to read ahead, so I know where it's going. But we get a look at some of the heroes of this world, more of these heroes, another bite at the apple for these heroes, and while they are not as sympathetic as they're not the protagonists. They're not, I don't know, like a kind of deconstruction. They're more of their own characters, but they're also not sympathetic in the way that we're looking at the protagonists. Is that like, was that a conscious decision to be like, I'm talking about the villains, just making them
Yeah.
interesting?
I mean, what we really wanted to stress was the difference between the villains and heroes is the heroes are attempting to um, be like a symbol for something good, and then and like human beings, you fail in your attempt to stand up and be righteous, but you try every day. The villains start every day with, well, I'm already not good, I'm not going to be trying for that, and then sometimes by accident there are moments of grace and honor within that world where they've already accepted that, no, we're all fallen, we're all broken, now let's operate knowing from that point. So it means that all the villains already know from the get-go we'll betray each other at any moment, and there's no harm, no foul in that. We knew that deal going in.
Yeah.
But then where do you find grace and honor in those moments? Those are those moments we were looking for.
Did
And
you
I,
guys
I
ever?
think with these characters, the action, we can talk about who they are. They're the sidekicks, the Teen Titans
Mm-hmm.
of this universe who don't believe the story that Frankie and Brain Tease and everyone else is selling about who killed the Insomniac
Yeah.
and Stickman, and they're coming to investigate because they worked with the Insomniac. They're like, no way did Brain Tease do this, and this threatens obviously Frankie's agreement with the Continuum. So
Right.
I think what it just came from is that I don't believe that teens would be as heroic as the Teen Titans. I think teens are confused and making
Yeah.
bad decisions all the time. So we wanted a group of heroes who are trying to be heroes, but are also swayed by fame and all these other things that teens would be interested in that make it harder to be universally heroic. And I think it's a more a realistic take on teen sidekick superheroes where they're
Yeah.
not inherently evil. They're just trying to figure out their way in the world. And sometimes they do terrible things. Sometimes they do heroic things.
Yeah. And but there also isn't like that edge of cynicism that I find in most superhero deconstructions, where it's like, yeah, we're all a bunch of fucking monsters. Let's really get in on this. It's just, this is a real take on teens. This is a real take on
Yeah.
heroes, but they are here. They genuinely are
Yeah.
trying to be that way.
The Continuum aren't monsters, but sometimes heroic people are put into monstrous situations. I mean, you can go, that's kind of like the generation now is really looking back on World War II. And yes, we absolutely had to stop Hitler. He was horrific. But then after the war, America made a lot of deals with Nazis, and they kind of ran our space program. And so, wait a minute, weren't they supposed to be punished? So we're looking at the good side and bad side, and then looking at some of the weird choices that the good guys had to end up making, and it gives you a different view of the world. It's not
Yeah.
as black and white, cut and dried. Like, again, there were people running the NASA space program that probably should have been in jail for war crimes, and we said, well, we kind of need this. Again, it got very murky and very disturbing.
Yeah.
Well, I
Very
think
quickly.
comics got that way. I think,
Yes.
we talk about cynicism. We love the Alan Moore stuff and Frank Miller stuff of the 80s. They were amazing stories, but I think some of the wrong lessons were taken from that moving
Yes.
forward, where there
Ugh.
was this chip on everyone's shoulder
Hmm.
about Batman 66 and the comics code and comics are for adults. And I mean, remember DC was putting that on their thing, like
Yeah.
comics
Comics
just for
are for
kids
adults.
anymore.
Yeah.
And I think there was this weird thing of like, all the stuff from the Silver Age is silly and dumb, and I don't want to look back. And I think I love all of it, and I know
Yeah.
Patton
Yeah.
loved it, and I think we wanted to kind of have this world where these people came up in a Silver Age, kind of vibe, and also now this modern age thing is working
Right.
its way, and things are getting darker, and they have to reconcile that, and I think Frankie absolutely is going through that in this volume where she's heading down a darker path after what she went through with the Insomniac, and she doesn't like it. She feels like she's losing herself. So there's a little kind of meta thing of, what if this goofy Silver Age teen sidekick villain is now in a much more darker world, and she doesn't like the changes she's going through.
It's interesting you say that because I got a different read on her, and I'm talking to the creators of her, so obviously,
No,
there's a
I want
bias
to
here.
hear
I
it.
love
But
That's
I
it.
got
awesome.
a different read on her where I was like, when she's being observed in her like natural environment, when she is like doing what she shouldn't, and the
Mhm.
commentary is kind of like this is what she is. I didn't get the like she doesn't want to be this bad. It's more like she is capable of being worse, and it's almost like she doesn't even know it.
Mhm.
And when and she the thing she doesn't like is any of the reverence and kindness. Like it's almost like she's pretending when she's with her child or with her ex-husband and stuff like that. Although I think that's the thing she wants. That reminds me of like a crime movie, where it's like, you're looking at why do any of the crime lords in any of the movies in which they rise to power and are destroyed fall in love with someone who is going to immediately destroy their empire?
Well, another thing too is that, and they're actually kind of doing it with the one interesting character left in the MCU filmed universe right now, which is the Kingpin, which is
Mm,
that when you do have something you love and care about, you need to hide that from the criminal world if that's the world you're in. You
right.
can't have that weakness in that world. But weirdly enough, that's the one thing that makes life worth living is the thing that you actually love. I mean,
Mhm.
there are very, very few. I mean, there have been some, I think, in history and in comics, some characters that are purely psychopathic and have nothing that they love and truly are hard. But for the most part, and I think what makes a character more interesting is when they do have something where a softer side that they then have to figure out, how do I hide that? How do I not show that to anyone so that I'm not at risk? Because then if I'm at risk, then the thing I love is at risk. So then they justify it by that. So I was going, if I'm an even bigger, scarier psychopath, I protect the things I love.
Ah,
But they
Yeah.
don't see the violence and danger they further put into the world.
Yeah,
right,
and
right.
I think that's a correct read you had in that, especially if you look at her first arc, which is, she starts the volume one. I want to get out of this life. I want to protect my daughter. I want to leave this behind. I'm going to be a good person. I'm going to be a good person. And ultimately, when she learns, she's like, "This is who I really am. I'm
Yeah,
great at it,
right.
and I can actually do something here. But maybe I can have it all. Maybe I can have this duality, this secret identity, that be this mother, this person who's involved in the community, giving back and help this place that I love, and then also be this ruthless supervillain. And obviously, the fun is seeing that not work out.
Right. So is there a text chain where you just throw names at each other for characters you're whipping up? Or do you have it all kind of like in your head when you're writing
I
out the
mean,
script? You're like,
we're always writing. I mean, I'm always writing down just in notebooks, just cool character names, weapon name, what like any combination of words that sound good. I've learned to put that to paper. You don't know where you're going to use it down the line.
yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, also we're two people that were really steeped in both the Silver Age and then the new grim and gritty age of the '80s, and there are that kind of language has infected us, especially in terms of character names.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it struck me because your Teen Titans analog characters. I was like, I just saw all those names and I'm like, that's so perfect. How do you know you didn't like? How do you know you didn't ape off of someone? Like, how do you know you didn't
Oh, trust me, we have all
reuse
of our
it?
reference books. We check, believe me.
Yeah. Or who's
We
who
were
is sitting
yesterday.
right
We
there,
were
like, check the
doing
who's, check the
what
Yeah.
were
Marvel.
yeah,
All right,
check
we're
the
good.
who's who's. What were we
Yeah.
looking? We were writing something yesterday, and we had to go, and we realized there were a bunch of people like, oh no, that's already been used. God damn it! Like there's
Oh, Mark Grunwald, by the way, props to him. We had this plant-based character we wanted to write, and we're like, oh, brother nature. Oh, he did it. Mark Grunwald did
ah
it in America in
yeah
the 80s. He's got it.
That's a
Uh,
good name.
it is a great name.
yeah.
It's funny you guys mentioned the innate nature of like supervillains and how with them they like kind of accept the inevitability that they're going to betray each other, so it kind of cuts the quick. But it reminds
Mhm.
me of that. Did you guys ever read that series Marvel Supervillain Team Up, which was
Hmm.
I guess a complement to the Marvel Team Up series where it was like it was Doctor Doom and Red Skull teaming up, and
Namor sometimes, right?
Namor
Like,
sometimes because he got to walk the line.
yeah,
But there was always like, especially the one I always think of is Doctor Doom and Red Skull, because like anytime you're going to team Red Skull up with anybody,
yeah.
invariably the other guy's going to go, well, I can't team up with the Nazi. I got to do something about this. And with
Well,
Doctor
that's
Doom,
one
it
of
was always,
Jordan's
yeah.
all-time favorite Marvel stories. There's a very,
Oh,
very cynical and dark team up. You were telling me about this with Red
Well, it's
Skull
not a
teaming with
team up.
Magneto. Oh,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like you think it's going to be team up, right? It's acts of vengeance,
yes.
and then Doctor Doom's like, all right, or I'm sorry, Magneto and meets with Red Skull, like, all right, we're going to switch heroes, right? And Magneto's like, are you fucking kidding me?
There's a moment. There's this
Yeah.
amazing panel, because the idea of folks at home, the Acts of Vengeance, like early '90s, late '80s event in Marvel, where um, all the villains go, we're getting our asses handed to us by our main characters every week. Why don't we trade characters? And invariably, that's when Magneto fought Spider-Man, and he thought he was going to have an easy layup, but Spider-Man coincidentally had cosmic powers. But
mm-hmm.
anyway, there's a big menagerie of like all the characters, and all like they're all in the same room together, and everyone's kind of just like doing their usual supervillain pose, and Magneto is just looking at Red Skull, like just like almost in a "who invited the Nazi" kind of reaction.
Right.
But that's the team up. Is he's like, yeah, no, we're gonna team up, Jordan, please.
Oh, well then, yeah. I mean, this is a simple story. He's like, there's no team up. You're not walking out of here alive. And just makes a hole in the ground and
Just
puts the Red Skull in the hole, and he closes it and he goes, bye. You're just
yeah.
gonna sit here
There's no
for
lights. He's
the
just like,
guy.
that's it. Bye.
Yeah.
Red Skull's like, hey, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not you
You're
put
dead.
Nazis in holes. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fuck you.
Exactly. That's so great. Such a great subversion, because you're like, oh yeah, this seems like it's easily going to be an exploitative. Like, all right, sure, cash grab. Oh, you never seen this character fight this character, and then they're
Yeah.
like, nah, but also don't forget, screw Nazis. A little basic tenet from one of our founders, Jack Kirby. F
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nazis.
Yep.
Uh, so in what regard? How do you guys keep all these characters straight when you're like, I've got my core, but I also am clearly telling, or not just characters, but your lore, like the fireworks display. I'm just thinking about like how where does that come from? Do you look at like regular things in your life and go like, all right, so I'm living in now I'm imagining myself in a superhero universe, a fantastical realm of magic and possibility. How would we regard the 4th of July? Like how would the 4th of July be co-opted and become this thing like where it's a distress signal from an alien craft? Like that was such a cool moment that I'm like,
Well,
what a good idea.
that's that idea of, well, this is our victory. We defeated these aliens. So it is a 4th of July moment for us. But from the point of view of the aliens, it is this endless
Distress.
recycling tragic defeat. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
sometimes, again, there's a lot of things we celebrate in history that are actually kind of dark and creepy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that the people there are just like, yeah, let's just don't ignore the history. Enjoy the cookout in December.
Yeah.
Fireworks
Yeah.
in
The
December.
lights are bright. Come on,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Just don't think about it.
Yeah.
I know how sad it is.
we set up, I think, what we loved, and this again, this so much of this comes from Scott and his background and what he added, was it became this thing of if there's going to be a dialogue scene that's just kind of two characters in a normal situation, what is fantastic about this world that's endured this continuity that we can make there be something happening in the background or a location that just kind of elevates it beyond, two people talking.
Right. Is that like a kind of holdover from like screenwriting tips where it's like if you're gonna have a scene of two people talking in a kitchen, we'll put them in a hockey rink or something. Have something happening behind them,
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Or talk while they are trying to do another task, which is very true to life. A lot of times when you have to talk about really serious things in movies, you're like, let's sit down and actually dialogue. But in real life, you're like, hey, meet me. We'll go do this. Like, well, we'll do paint ceramics together, and then you use that to loosen the person up and then go, hey, listen. You know what I mean? Like people do that. That's a human thing that people do.
yeah, yeah,
Meet me at Color Me Mine. I'm gonna tell you that I'm fucking your sister. Like it's
exactly. Oh
so
my God.
grim.
What a scene.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
a scene.
right.
Yeah.
And then in the superhero world, it's like no, we're there's a uprise of a subterranean mutant group of people who are coming out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, guys. So I I can't stress enough how expansive and colorful and interesting and fun and also thoughtful the Minor Threats universe is. And yet it's easy to read, like it's easy to jump into, and I think it's because the characters are so real. Is that like I assume that like that's the most important thing for you is just getting these characters out there and get and telling their story more than, the magical fantasy world of,
We
of these
try to make
characters.
their motivations and needs very, very human, and that means sometimes I think their needs and motivations can be kind of embarrassing.
Mm.
I mean, Frankie, as awesome as she is, one of her problems is she can't quite let go of just the thrill of street level scrapping over one corner. Life was simpler then, and
Hmm.
that's a thing that a lot of people, I think, still miss when as your life gets more as you grow older and your life maybe gets more successful. It also gets way more complicated.
Yeah.
And you remember that time when it's like, remember when it was just like, let's get a pizza and bitch about showbiz because, like it was
Yeah.
easier, but you were also failing. So there's that. She's kind of dealing with that shit
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love
because
that.
success came way too fast for her and she's
Mm.
struggling to deal with it.
And she had Scalpel in her ear who wants to embrace it and kind of
Yeah.
almost groom her to be this bigger thing now that she has this power, but it kind of fights who she is. So Scalpel has her own kind of ideas of what a leader should be and how to get real power in the city versus Frankie being like, well, I like this life. This is the life I know.
Yeah, yeah. And it's always fun to see that because of course like no one's gonna live your dreams for you. Scalpel clearly has an idea. Scalpel fitting Frankie into a box you can't fit into
Yeah. Yep.
is Scalpel just trying to approximate a person that that doesn't exist. That's really that's really cool and engaging stuff. It's
Yeah.
like it's what I want to read about. So uh obviously those books are coming out. Minor Threats 2 is dropping on April 3rd. It's gonna be 4 issues. The Alternates trade is coming out on April 16th. But I also just wanted to talk about how great is X-Men 97? Have you guys seen X-Men 97?
Jordan has, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to
Oh,
watch it right after this. I
I
haven't
will
seen it.
not.
Jordan says it's amazing.
I wanted to link it to some stuff that the folks are like, like I want to know what they think. But yeah,
It's
it's
it's perfect. It's a bullseye. It's there's so much stuff that comes out these days that is like, hey, remember that thing you grew up with? We brought it back. And like
yeah,
this is the idealized, like the version you think you remember the show being, and are doing things with characters. I own every X-Men comic that's ever been made. I've read them all. I'm seeing stuff I've never seen the X-Men do. And I
yeah.
think like with their powers, I thought was so brilliant. The action, Cyclops is just scooting around using his optic blast. They're charging Wolverine's claws. Though wouldn't Wolverine's
He would explode.
his well, like he would just have nubs with claws, right? They would
Yeah,
blow
yeah,
his
absolutely.
wrists off.
Or,
Yeah.
or the charge would link through his entire adamantium skeleton and he would just like blow
It
apart.
would
Like
blow
it's
his skin off and he'd just be a
yeah,
walking skeleton. They
yeah,
have this thing where Gambit jumps on his back and charges his claws, and then Wolverine launches at a Sentinel. And you're like, well, he would lose all his flesh. But
yeah,
beyond that, who cares? It was a cool moment. And
exactly.
yeah, and they're doing like Inferno and Life Death and all these like late 80s Claremont stories that I love.
Yeah,
So I'm in heaven. Yeah.
and they're doing them in like in an episode. It's like
Yeah.
two freaking trades of a book into like 22 minutes, and it's just
The
remarkable.
trial of Magneto was 5 minutes.
It's true. Uh, it's interesting how that show, and by extension, the world we are in now, takes nostalgia and turns it into something new and fresh, and how rarely effective it is. I think that's why people are talking about it so much.
Yeah.
Um, and just to link it to other things that are related to Patton, Ghostbusters is out, and I saw it, and it does it in the same way where it's like here's something that you have wanted, but
Yeah.
also it's something new, and has well, I liked Afterlife, but it has that one's where Fair Force Awakens, where it's like look at the ball that Luke trained on, look at the crunch bar. We did that, and we
Yeah.
have the mileage to try something else and look at other characters. But it's interesting how we are in a place now. Like if they had made X-Men 97 in 2001,
Mhm.
they would have been like, oh no, we're streets past that. Like how quickly they would have been like something else, something new, something
Yeah.
different,
Yeah. Yeah.
something very 2000s. And yet if X-Men 97 had dropped in 2014, it would have been maybe too reverent.
Mhm.
We're in like a kind of interesting honeypot period where it's like this is good. It's
You're
just
saying we aged the whiskey just enough.
that's exactly what I'm saying. We've aged the
Perfect
nostalgia
pour
where
out
we can
now.
actually get
Yes,
both. We can get both things out. We can get all multi textures, different notes of past and future.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
And have it
But
hit in a way that I don't think it would have too, because like my kids are, the younger one is into Marvel stuff, but my older one's kind of out of it. And this
right,
brought it back in, and we all sat and ate Cinnamon Toast Crunch and watched it Wednesday morning. And it was like, for me, going back to something, but for them being like, oh, this thing that you're obsessed with is cool. I get
right.
it now. Like this speaks to me.
Yeah, well, and in a way where it's like it doesn't work. I remember thinking as a kid when I was going to have kids, I was going to curate this whole pop culture gauntlet for them, where it was going to be like they're going to watch these shows that, but like only these, they're only going to watch the original Star Wars trilogy, and they're only going to look at and it's like that's so unrealistic, but also moreover, they might not like it, like just because He-Man was a show in 1981 that children ate up you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
doesn't mean that a kid of the same age in 2023 is gonna eat up the same exact filmation He-Man. It's just not gonna. It just doesn't translate, even
Well,
if you give them the same.
there was something that Jordan was telling me a few weeks ago, and it's true. And I think older generations have a hard time dealing with this, but
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to deal with the fact that a lot of the stuff that you thought was awesome as kids, it's still awesome for you. And even if it's awesome now, it doesn't matter to younger kids want their own thing, even if it's not great. They want their own thing.
Yes,
So you're going to have to just bite the bullet and go, but that's their thing, man. And they want something that they feel like they own. And it actually helps it if there's adults going, but this is crap. That makes it even more valuable to them.
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
That's
yeah. They don't
good.
have ownership. It's completely theirs. They do not
Yeah,
have. They don't have to share it with anybody, and they can completely make
exactly.
claim authorship over it.
Yeah.
That. Did you see Jordan's picture of him as a kid, where he's in that X-Men room?
Yes. Oh my God, that's so perfect.
I was just like, I love that room and everything
Now, but
about
are
it.
those Jordan? Are those covers off of comics that you tore off the comics, or those are pinups that you got from Matt? Where are those?
It was like an X-Men poster book that
Yes.
had that stuff. So I had that, and then I had speaking of Art Adams, I had two Art Adams posters that were huge, that were like my favorite things in the world. One was just said mutants on it, and it was all mutants of 1988 on
Nice.
it, and another one was like more classic lineup. But yeah, I went hard on X-Men. I don't know why they made it woke now, though. I know that's no. Yeah, shocking.
All of a sudden,
Only
that's the one thing I'm worried about. I've heard this new X-Men 97 cartoon. It's all about taking the point of view of the outsider and the kind of oppressed. That's never what X-Men was
What a
about.
weird
Ever.
interpretation.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I was angry enough when Sandman had trans and gay characters. That's not the Sandman I knew from the late 80s. That's not
Hell
Neil Gaiman,
no.
right? That is not Neil Gaiman. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up in Westchester. I lived 5 minutes from North Salem, so I always assumed Salem Center was somewhere around there. I never found the mansion. And yeah, I was like one of the only Jewish kids in my town, so the idea of being an outsider and finding a school where I belonged was very appealing to me.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
My touchstone's just I was a Jersey kid who loved Spider-Man, so when we would visit my grandma in Brooklyn, I'd be like, is he up there? No? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
next time.
I
Although I
still look.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
can't walk through New York without looking up and being like thinking of Raimi's Spider-Man like shooting through the
Yeah.
city,
dude,
you know.
when right before Raimi's Spider-Man 1 came out, I was working in New York. I was working for Panavision Cameras and Lenses. And so I was walking through the city and commuting every morning. And I met up with some friends for lunch. And there was this huge well, it doesn't matter. The point is, my friend just calls out of nowhere. He goes, "Look, Sal, it's Spider-Man." And instinctively, I looked up to the sky as like a
Oh,
grown adult person going like,
oh, that's so
"Where?"
sweet.
And he's like, "On the bus. Like there's an ad, man. What the hell is the matter with you?" And I'm like, everything. But yeah, and I like to justify that. No, they had these big billboards that were on the side of buildings. I was looking for the billboard, but
Yeah.
it wasn't what I was really looking for. So, gentlemen, what are you guys reading right now? What comics are you guys reading, if any?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot.
I mean, right now, again, I'm one of those guys that just follows writers more
Yes.
than titles. So anything by Gail Simone, Mark Russell, Tom King. Mark Russell's Batman Dark Age comes out next Wednesday, the
Yes.
27th. I've already read it. Holy crap. It is, I mean, look, I was already a Mark Russell fan.
Yeah.
Everything from Acid Chimp to Business Dog to Traveling to Mars. And now it's like, okay, he's doing Batman with All Red doing the art. It's
Yeah.
so, I can't even begin to tell you how brilliant this book is. And it's only the first issue.
Nice. That's great. I'm
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that one.
Oh my God, you're gonna be so happy.
I can't wait. I've been reading The Batman from well the crap, what the hell is it called? It's the most recent one from Dan Jurgens. It's set in 1939 and it's this grizzled,
Ooh.
hard-boiled, like it's basically,
Oh.
so Batman came out in 1939, he was a grizzled, hard-boiled, kind of detective
Yeah, yeah,
story.
yeah.
What if it was done with like realistic art and like and Dan Jurgens is writing it. It's dope. And it's Black
Wow.
Label, so it's nice and big. It's a good looking Batman book. Um I'm glad you mentioned Tom King though, because man, that Wonder Woman book is so good.
Wonder
And
Woman
Well,
and Penguin. Don't sleep
and
on
and
Penguin.
Penguin,
Penguin.
Penguin is I'm so every time that issue comes out, I'm like, God damn it, I'm reading Penguin month to month.
Well, I mean, the thing about like we were talking about earlier, the people that were like, oh, but the Silver Age are so stupid. But right now, all the most successful stuff in comics,
Hmm.
Tom King, Mark Russell, and I would also say, um, uh, oh God, why am I blank? James Gunn are
Yeah,
people that embrace the silly costumes and the colors and the all of the basicness of it, but make it human.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
what's amazing.
He brought back the Force of July, the 4th of July themed villains, who
yeah,
I love from Suicide Squad.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
yeah.
But Wonder Woman's unbelievable, and that art too. You just
Oh,
feel like you're reading, like you from page one, you're like, this is gonna be an epic run. This is gonna
yeah,
be a definitive
Yeah.
Wonder Woman run.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's been awesome. And then yeah, I think we're both still loving Local Man,
Mhm.
by our
Oh
pal
God,
Billy.
yeah. I mean, Tim Seeley is another guy. Anything he does, him, Jerry Duggan, anything they do, you just pick up because it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Totally.
I'm
And um, friggin' Hickman
Oh,
with this
Ultimate
new Ultimate.
Spider-Man.
Ultimate
Oh my
Spider-Man.
fucking God, it's so
Yeah.
good.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I'm also digging Batman Superman World's Finest. Dan Mora, Mark
Yeah,
Waid.
Mark
Great.
Waid is
That's another
another.
Silver Age. Jesus. Like,
Yeah.
He's giving you like a DC sampler platter. Like, hey, you want a little
Yes.
Metamorpho here, a little Doom Patrol, a little.
Here.
Yeah, I love it.
big time.
Oh,
And
best.
just recently we just wrapped up his like kind of sequel to Kingdom Come, where like you get to see young Batman and Superman react to the Kingdom Come universe, and it's
Yep.
like that's that's what I wanted
Yeah.
as like a
Yeah.
nerd.
And Dan
But
Mora
now he's doing a
art.
thing with Mixelplix.
Yes.
That
Yeah,
that first issue is incredible.
Yep. Yep.
I just picked that up. Yeah.
So good.
Incredible.
Yeah. Uh Gents, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. Folks, Minor Threats 2 is out April 3rd. Pick up all 4 issues. Pre-order your series. Pre-order your books, of course. Alternates
Yeah.
trade drops a week or two later around April 16th, so check out the alternates. We didn't really get a chance to talk about the alternates, but like it is a phenomenal companion piece to the Minor Threats world without
Thank you.
actually really even it's set in that world, but it's very much its own thing. It feels like if Minor
Yes.
Threats is like the DC universe or the Marvel universe, the alternates is the Vertigo,
Oh my
Ancillary,
God.
Swamp
Such a
Thing,
love letter to
Constantine
Vertigo
universe.
Comics in
Feels
the
like
in
it.
the late '80s, early '90s.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
just from the covers alone, you're like, I remember what that looked like. Yeah,
Yep.
but in a modern way. It didn't feel
Yeah.
like it. Yeah, because that's the thing is like comics. The covers are obviously the entry point, and the ones that stick with you are the ones where they were like really messing with the format and changing things up. And Vertigo is so good at being like, it differentiates itself from the rest of it. You eventually
Well,
just like it's four
Yeah.
colors all the way, and then you get to this one thing, and you're like, whoa,
but we
Yeah.
know what's so crazy about it. I'm putting together a full Doom Patrol run because it's one of my favorite books.
sure,
And it goes from like Eric Larson art that's like tying into an invasion storyline with Superman and everything. And it's like then it's like issue 24 or something. It's just like Grant Morrison's here. They're all dead. Everything's crazy. Like it's so funny how they don't even relaunch it back then. They just were like, yeah, Eric Larson's not on the book anymore. And also, your mind's about to be
Right.
blown.
It's about this now.
Yeah. It's
So
so
good.
jarring. So that was kind of what we wanted the alternates to be like, because if you were just this, Silver Age character walking through life, and all of a sudden you're rebooted in an adult comic.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if any Wesley Dodds fan was suddenly picking up Sandman in 1987, just being like,
Yeah.
what happened?
All right, man.
Well, thanks so much for being here, guys, and
Awesome.
thank you all for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
All right. Talk to you
Thanks
soon.
so
Bye.
much, so.
All right, take care, guys. Thanks a lot.